So this is the latest Tracy Letts play to come to the screen. Obviously, Tracy Letts plays brought to the screen before by William Friedkin in the shape of Bug and Killer Joe. And so the story is at the centre of it, you have Meryl Streep, who's this poisonous and poisoned matriarch figure. At the beginning of it, her husband, poet, disappears. All her family descend upon this somewhat hellish homestead over which she reigns in this very dark, bitter, foul, acerbic fashion. And then the family proceeds over the course of an intense period to tear itself apart. When Harvey Weinstein came on the programme, he said, everybody should watch this movie at Christmas because no matter how bad you think your family are, after this, you'll just hug them all to your bosom because they are so... He described it as just people being unbelievably horrible to each other. Meryl Streep, of course, up for an Oscar. Here's a clip.
You can't remember anything unusual.
We hired this woman. He didn't ask. We hired this woman to come live in our house a few days before he left.
You don't want her here?
Well, I have an Indian in my house.
You have a problem with Indians, Violet?
I don't know what to say to an Indian.
They're called Native Americans, Mom.
Who makes that decision?
It's what they like to be called.
They aren't any more native than me.
In fact, they are.
What's wrong with Indians?
Why can't you just call people what they want to be called?
Let's just call the dinosaurs Native Americans while we're at it.
So, Meryl Streep, if you could hear there...
Having fun.
Having fun, yeah. And I mean, she is definitely enjoying herself, and she's in sort of spectacularly bilious fashion. Also, I have to say, a very good showing from Julia Roberts, who's, doing more interesting work than she's done in quite a long time. And she's very good as the daughter, who is sort of both proud and terrified of becoming her own mother. In fact, the film is full of really great performances. The problem with it is very simple. If you look at, and whether or not you like Bug or Killer Joe, and this isn't just because, I have a William Friedkin fetish, whether or not you like those films, they are films. They are very cinematic. I mean, actually, Killer Joe is the one that got all the attention because obviously it's got Matthew McConaughey and, it's sort of a fairly, I suppose, mainstream in terms of who's in it, and it did very well. There was a lot of attention given to it. But in fact, Bug is the finer of the two films. Bug was seen by almost nobody. It got released for like one day. The company that released it were the same company that were releasing Saw, and they genuinely in the UK released it in one cinema because as far as they were concerned, there wasn't any legs in it at all. And Bug is the better of the two works because Bug is a full-blooded horror movie. It's but in the case of this, which is directed by John Wells, I beg your pardon, Tracy Letts, John Wells, it just feels very much like somebody has taken a stage play and taken an hour out of it, which is fine, and then put it onto the screen in a way which is terribly pedestrian. And there's this weird sort of disjunct between, on the one hand, you have an A-list cast doing very fine work, and and it's all, it's big speeches and big confrontations, and there's loads for Meryl Streep to sink her teeth into, and there's loads for Judy, but as a piece, it just sits there. And it's very strange because some of the dialogue is so bilious and so vile and so, and exactly as Harvey Weinstein said, these people being horribly horrible to each other. And yet the film itself is terribly inert. Now, that's not to say that it's awful, because it isn't. Because actually, if you want to see, actors firing on all cylinders, doing good stuff, and which they clearly are, that's absolutely fine. But whenever you do a stage play adaptation, the thing is always, what are you bringing to it? Are you just going to make it look like actually? And there is some interesting, they open it out every now and then, and there's an ironic thing going on in the way that the film looks, which is that they're in the middle of this sort of great big open space. But the ironic gag is that you're in the middle of this open space, but in fact the open space is a prison. There's one sequence in which Meryl Streep's character actually tries to run away, and Julia Roberts says, there's nowhere to go. So there is that sense of people being trapped in an open space. And you get the sense when you're watching it that actually that would have probably come across in the stage play. I know a couple of people who saw the stage play who say the stage play was very, very powerful and really wonderful. It won a number of prizes. Watching the film with Harvey Weinstein's comments ringing in my ear, I thought, yeah, they are. There is a certain fun to be watching this. But I mean, you can kind of see where everything's going. I mean, every single conflict, you can see it coming. And then there's a great big reveal, which if you didn't see the great big reveal coming from the moment the film opens, then you really weren't trying.
I didn't.
Didn't you?
Not from the moment the movie opened, sir. No.
Okay, fine. You did. Okay, not from the moment, like 10, 15. From the moment that the family starts to congregate, you think there's a big dark secret in here, and I know exactly what it is. And then an hour and a half later, you go, Yeah, it's that.